All right, perfect. Looks like we have everybody here. We'll do a quick little introduction and mic check to make sure everybody can hear each other. Everyone can hear me just fine?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
Perfect.
Yes.
All right, wonderful. Well, I'll open up by welcoming everybody to our second round of What's Next, presented by Connext. This is the What's Next series of Twitter Spaces. Number two, as mentioned, because we had one yesterday and we got another two coming up on Wednesday and Thursday this week as well, where the most innovative projects in Web3 can, share their vision and what they're building in the space. We're trying to generate enthusiasm and synergies and inspire really a new wave of ideas for the next generation of builders. And as we know right now, it's all about the builders. So my name's Grog. I'm sitting in again as host. Unfortunately, I'm taking the place of team member Eddie, who's feeling a little under the weather. Hey, Eddie, sorry to hear all that. But I will try to do my best job to fill in for him today. We have an amazing panel lineup for you guys today. I'm going to try very hard to get everybody's pronunciation correct. So if it is incorrect, please let me know. We have Weiser from DeFi Wonderland and Keeper, as well as Ox Gorilla. We have Fasu from Learn, or is that FaceU? Peter Robinson from Consensys, and Senche from Connext Ourselves. So I'm going to give you guys each a little bit of time, about 2 minutes each, to just kind of talk about yourselves, your projects, what you're working on, and how it kind of fits into our topic of composability today. So if we want to start off, we can start with Vicer.
Hey, hello everyone. Don't know if I am being listened. Yes, it sounds like. So we work at DeFi Wonderland. Right now we're working on taking Keeper into a multi-chain scenario. And I think one of the difficulties that we had was like trying to take the data of the price of the quote of Keeper tokens, since it didn't have a native pools in other chains. I come from the data world. I've been working mostly in Web2 since the last like 5 years. I entered the space a year and a half, two, and it feels like a lot right now. And I think like composability is one of the things that excites me the most because of how you're able to interact with different teams that are building different ecosystems, and you can plug things together and make the space a little bit like make it more alive. It's like taking this and make it work with that, and that's been one of the things I like the most of Web3.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that. Moving on naturally, we'll just talk to your cohort with DeFi Wonderland and Keeper, and Gorilla, take it away.
Perfect. Thank you for having us first. So, as a quick introduction of what is Wonderland and what do we do, like for you to get an understanding of the next things we're going to talk about. DeFi Wonderland, it's a group basically of ninja coders, I'd like to say, that we go around in DeFi looking for projects that really, really excite us and we think are going to stay here for a long while. And we look for ways of collaborating with them and helping them like thrive. So helping develop stuff around their ecosystem to make the protocols better. We also invest a bit in different protocols that are aligned with what we develop. So on like currently we've been focusing for the past year in automation, oracles, providing a good source of price oracles, and multi-chain. So working on different chains, sending information through chains, working a bit with Cairo as well. So all that. I've been working as well. I come from a Web2 space for the last 8 years, I believe. And well, excited we've been working with Connext a lot. So for the past year. So excited to tell you about that.
Awesome. All right. Fasu or Fasu.
It's all right. My name has quite risky pronunciation, right? My name is Faku. I work with Yearn Finance. I have a technical background, but when I joined the space, I realized that the guys were gigabrains, so I couldn't keep up with them on the technical side. So I moved to the upside and helping with the organization and other stuff like partnerships and that kind of things. At Yearn, what we do is but most importantly, a horizontal organization and a DAO. So I think that the innovation at Yearn is not only on the financial side, that how to capture safe yield for users, but also on the human interaction side, like finding new ways to organize ourselves without bosses and having a good time.
Great. And sorry, I got that now. I totally get entering this space and like you're keeping up. I feel like that every day working with these fine folks here. And we'll move on next to Peter Robinson with Consensys.
Thank you, and good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. Yep, so I'm Peter, and I've been working in the space for quite a few years now, and at Consensys for more than 5, and working in the R&D department. So at Consensys, obviously, we do all sorts of things, but the area that I'm in is in cross-chain research. And so one of the areas that I've been looking at is the ability to write code that's on, say, one blockchain or rollup and have it call code on other rollups. So it's not composable financial transactions. It's something bigger than that. It's the ability to do, code across chains. And so essentially you can have your business logic across chains, and so you could build these composable protocols on top of them. And so the protocol is called gPact, and actually quite recently we've had quite a few people in the L2, L3 space who have become really excited about it because of its ability to allow them to access information and assets and knowledge on other chains. So that's enough from me for the moment.
Perfect. And I've been told that you are down under, which means that it's very, very early in the morning for you. So I do wholeheartedly appreciate your time here today. So thank you very much for sitting down with us. Last but not least, we have Sanche, who is one of our devs here at Connext.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sanche, and I'm tech lead at Connext. I have been at Connext for the past 2 years, making me the oldest employee. Have been incredibly lucky to work with the wonderful team and the best community ever. As you guys already know, that we have been working for past 9 months to come up with Emerald, the next level to the composability. I can explain everything about it, but in TLDR, I would say having a single click function, xcall, you can do any message from any chain to any chain. So that's the next step which we want to take forward with.
All right, fantastic. So I'm going to start by let's go straight rudimentary. I think this is going to be a fairly high-level technical conversation. So I want to start off with something easy because we do have, a pretty large scattering of listeners here today. So let's talk about what composability is and kind of how that works with your various products. I know there's a lot of cross-integration between the different developer groups in this room. So does anyone want to step up and speak a little bit about what composability means to them and how that works in the world that we're moving into?
I'd love to. I believe composability is the reusage of an idea. Is having the fight between standardizing something and forgetting about maybe what makes it the characteristic that makes it unique. For example, if you look at Yearn as a yield aggregator, what they do is they compose different economical techniques and strategies, and they give what they standardize them into something that in the last year it transformed itself into the ERC 4626 yield bearing tokens. And I think the surprising part for me was to discover that the German government had previously defined these tokens in the tax reports before this ERC existed. So it's kind of going into a way of sorting out things and forgetting about the things that make it unique, but also allowing these things that make each thing unique to be a part of a thing. But in the end, what we are doing as developers is we are organizing information, and by organizing that, by saying all of this is an ERC20, for example, we allow to have pools, we allow to have like permissionless protocols that only rely on what you need to put inside an ERC20, for example.
I would like to jump in quickly because I use an example that for me it's super intuitive to explain composability. That it's not about DeFi, it's about real life, and it's the luggage. So this is super quick. It's before the 70s, luggage didn't have wheels at all. So like people had other people take the luggage for them to the plane or to the boat or whatever. Um, so someone that I don't remember his name thought, hey, isn't it cool if we can put together wheels on the luggage and have wheel the luggage so everyone can take their luggage on their own, and that's it. So for me, composability is that taking two different things and having a result that it's much more than the sum of those two things. So that's that for me, composability in real life.
If I can jump real quickly, for me, composability in real life is the reusage of these ideas. And I see it as a real life example. I see this on this city, and I love it. I live in Berlin. I think like architecturally in the outside, it has a lot of this reusage of spaces. And there was like one day coming back to my home, and I see like this fridge that was out there in the street so that somebody would take it up, and the next day it was graffitied, and the next day it was like laid over and four people were playing poker on top of it, and the next day it was off. But I think like this being able to change how we understand something that is as complex as a fridge to first just like a wall to graffiti, then like a table, and then probably like the materials. I think this this way of understanding the objects, the ideas, is what we are trying to achieve with composability.
And I know I'm stealing your fridge analogy there, Lisa, but I mean, the idea also is that you've got a thing, and you might that can be reused in different ways. And so your fridge, it could be used to store food in, and so one person can be storing food in there, but then separately you could have a fridge, an instance of that fridge, and you could be storing, say, vaccines in there, and so you've got reusability of components, and more than that, say you've got many different types of components that you're able to reuse. You can mix and match them, combine them in all sorts of different ways, and in that way you can have one person come up with one application, one usage of these things that you're combining together, and someone else has some completely different application and they're reusing. And I think the idea that someone said, where you don't need to know how that fridge is working, you just know it's cooling stuff, and so so what it does, the output of what it does, what features it has, but you don't know how it works, and you don't need to. because that's the beauty of composability. You're able to build on the shoulders of the giants who've created all these components for you.
Awesome. Well, there's a lot of good analogies there, and as we can tell, composability is pretty simple at its core. So one of the big things that we're looking at here is composability across chains. How exactly do you make data that's bridged across chains composable?
That's a super hard question. Actually, I think that's a super complex thing to do, because like different chains have different assumptions. They have different block types, for example. They can have different programming languages, etc. So I think I don't think that up until now there's a single project doing it like 100% right, like having composability across chains, because of the problem that you have and the risks that it involves. Like message passing is not trivial. It's not easy. So I don't think there's a simple answer for that, and I think give a composability across multiple chains. And I think that I know that for a fact, because we work with the guys at Keeper, that they are doing stuff to make that possible. And I think that together with Connext is super important, at least for us at Yearn.
I'll jump real quick. So I agree with Facu that like every single chain has different assumptions from, like, for example, flashbots on mainnet or liquidity on mainnet or different languages and everything. And I believe that's one of the biggest challenges when developing cross-chain apps and when wanting like to deploy any application or something in a different chain. And sometimes you have applications, for example, that rely on different things. As Uniswap, let's say I build something that relies on Uniswap that composes Uniswap, yeah. And then I want to deploy on another chain, and well, Uniswap relies on heavy liquidity, and on this other chain there is not that. Or like if I want to deploy in many chains, we cannot fractionalize, yeah, the liquidity in many chains. So here, like, you start seeing the importance of creating cross-chain applications through data and not just like copy pasting and making fractions of liquidity and stuff. For example, one thing I would like to share with you guys is that at Wonderland, where we had that issue that we said, oh, we built Keeper Network, we helped build Keeper Network, and we needed a reliable source of pricing for some assets. So the best option was clearly Uniswap V3. Now, when we want to take Keeper Network multi-chain, what do we see? That there is no liquidity on those chains, that it'll be super hard deploying as we were used to in mainnet. So we decided to build in this composable way, and let's, instead of bridging liquidity, let's bridge data, and let's create the same interface as we're used to when interacting with Uniswap V3 on mainnet, but let's make that on any sidechain or L2, where protocols can hit that semi-Uniswap pool, let's say virtual Uniswap pool, that actually gets the data from mainnet, yeah, through Connext by like relaying data. So that's super, like, I think that's a good use case of creating a cross-chain world through relaying data and not tokens.
If you let me jump into that, I believe the hard part that we have right now is not technologically, as Salty said. It's more about that what we are trying to compose now is ecosystems that are alive, that have their own rules, the whole motivations. And for example, Uniswap is deployed on most of the chains that we use every day. But the thing is, there are no incentives for having a decent liquidity to work as an oracle in every single chain, and it would be economically inefficient. And for investors, they want to put liquidity in mainnet because they have better fees, for example, because they have because people that go to trade they have less slippage. But the thing is, we cannot replicate the whole ecosystem because there's already one that already works. So what we're trying to do is to say, okay, this is the pool that is going to be the source of truth. And what we did is forked the Oracle library, and each pool will have an Oracle library with data from that pool in every single chain. So the composability that we're doing here is grabbing this automated market maker protocol, that what it does, it swaps, but it has this functionality of being an oracle. And we're reading this data of an oracle, and we're setting a pool on every other chain that doesn't work for swapping, but it works the same as it would work UniV3 pool as an oracle with the data on mainnet.
I completely agree with that. The way the composability of the data would work is having the source of truth moving from the chain where you have the transaction to the other chains, and making sure that's the once the data reaches over there and becomes a part of it, it has a time period where we can have the verification that yes, it was part of it, and we can use AMBs and different type of messaging layer to make sure that we reaches to that point and have the watchers into the system to make sure yes, the data which has been which is becoming a part of the new chain or the destination is true, and we can move forward. It's like having the composability would be these Legos which you can use to build a different maybe a Star Trek model, a transformer, or even a Barbie house. But this piece of information or piece of block needs to be present or can be reused on different sources, and but it needs to be a truth first, and that's how we can be moved forward with the composability of that data.
Great. Wow. You know, you ask what I think is a relatively simple question, and I figure out it is not, and I get a very complex answer, but insanely informative. So, one of the things that a couple of you touched on is the fact that there's different standardization across the various chains. So, how do you create those standards in Web3? We have things like EIP 4626, the yield bearing vault standard, and things like that. How exactly do we get those standards rolled out across blockchains or EVMs in particular to kind of help us achieve this goal?
I believe there are two ways. One is sitting everybody and trying to define the standard that as the like has the biggest power of standardizing, but the less reduction of properties that each of these items that you want to standardize have. And the other way is by action, as Uniswap did. Like nowadays, I think like there's a lot of protocols that are using Uniswap as an oracle, and it's not because they gather together and say like which is the best way, this is going to last ad infinitum, but they did something and it works, and it provides a good solution for people. So I think nowadays taking Uniswap as an oracle standard may be safe for the next few years. So I believe like this this composability comes from after, as Sanchai said, like money, DeFi is money Legos, but we have to define like which are these Legos. and which can be split. So I believe like they become one of these Legos by usage, by being one of the best Oracle providers, one of the best AMMs that exist because of the usage that it has, and because of nowadays how most of the liquidity and the lesser slippage and most arbitrage opportunities. So they became ad hoc the standard of being an Oracle, at least for our understanding of the usage that we're making to it.
I think you need two things. You don't only need standards. That's very cool because it's going to make the task of composing different Legos easier. But you also need people building bridges, and what I'm saying about bridges is not like cross. Well, it can be the chains, but it can be adapting a certain standard or a certain product to be standard compatible, and also adapting what we talked about before about different chains or different protocols or different whatever being different. So you need what we call in Web2 middleware and make it easier for other developers to build on top of it. So I think that being different is a good thing because Gorilla and Wizard said it before that you can have like different chains for different uses. Like I don't think that you need a standard for everything. You need a standard for some stuff, and then you need integrations between different things, like chains in this case, to make it work together and to be optimal in their use case. So I think that standards are good and non-standard stuff is good also. So both things are important.
I'd like to add some small thing there. I think when creating a standard, some very, very good option that I like recommend the most is like build small. Like don't break your head into creating the most complex thing that everyone agrees on and like that will serve every single use case. This is the thing of like the advantage of money Legos, right? Of DeFi and everything that we're building and composability as well. Create the smallest thing you can do as ERC20, right? How complex is ERC20? But then you have many EIPs that jump like on top of it and build with ERC20 new stuff. So that should be our goal. One thing, for example, I don't know if you remember, but I know it sounds strange, but this game that Andre Cronje built once, like I think it was a year ago, I really, really liked it, and I was super surprised because of the simplicity of it, right? Like he built something where you just could create a player and had some attributes, and that's it. And then and had like level and experience, and then somebody else came and built like a map where players could move and something, and then like many people came together to build this game. I think it ended up on nothing, but that's not the point. The point is like don't like break your head trying to create the biggest standard and the most like fashion thing and whatever. Build composable and small things. If at the end of the day it's not the good solution, your small like part, it's not the good choice, people will come and will like change it for something else. And that's all right, that's okay. That should be our goal.
I I into that as standard or not standard. I believe one of my favorite projects that emerged in the last 2 years was still Float Capital. It's a project that lives in Polygon and Arbitrum and lets you take a leverage position that it kind of doesn't get liquidated. It has like a very complex inside mechanism on how you get this leverage and how you get your investment back if you're winning, if you're losing, or whatever. But the thing is, the tokens are ERC20. So they said, however complex we are inside, what we are making is an ERC20 token that has this leverage position. And the thing is, these tokens, they live only on Polygon on Arbitrum, because on any other chain, it would be kind of impossible to know what's the value of these tokens. And I believe if we start breaching data to other chains, we are going to start being able to breaching all these ERC20s, and we are going to start allowing other protocols to have delta neutral positions in another chains that they will require maybe being short on spell or being long on Joe or so in the end, like they made something that it's really complex, that it's not easy to understand, but they delivered an ERC20. So that's what I say, like this is standardizing. It's saying like, okay, what I give you is just a token and you can understand it like that. And then the complexity, you can have it like in your own like accountancies, but what you are dealing with is an ERC20 and you know how it's going to behave and you know that you can make a pool out of it, you can add liquidity. So in a way, I think like that's what I mean when I say like standardizing. It's understanding these very complex things through different perspectives that say, okay, it has a transfer, it has a total supply, so I can do this and this, and I don't care about like all of the rest. I just see these protocols throughout an interface.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's like you have to build these low level modules or low level building blocks, which allows you to have the same interface and on top of that, you can build skyscrapers. That's the need of having these interfaces finalized and standardized. So every chain kind of follows that, and it becomes easy to connect the data and have this composability created in between them.
Yeah. So one thing that we've been working on at Consensys with a few companies is a cross-chain messaging standard. So it's sort of, I know it's down a layer in the stack from what many people have been talking about, but we argued and discussed over quite a while with a few different companies, well, what's the minimum we could do? And at the end of the day, what we've ended up with is a standard which defines face says is, did this thing happen on that other chain? And by limiting it to just something really narrow, really simple, then you can sort of get towards agreement after a while. And so, as someone was saying, I think Sanchez was saying, then you can build your skyscrapers on top of these small foundations. And I guess there's a lot of standards bodies out there as well. And yeah, so we went with the EEA, which was the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which I guess is now really heading towards the Ethereum Ecosystem Alliance. I think that's their rebrand that they're heading towards. And I think one of the things that we've learned out of all come down to what standards body you use, because you're trying to get good exposure, because you're having a standard, which is the best standard in the world, is no good if no one implements it. So implementing it and then using it is important, and trying to get, as someone was saying, trying to get people to move their code from what they're currently doing to using a standard is a big thing as well. People have got to see value.
Great. So kind of following that then, if we've established whether we need standards or what standards need to be established, what exactly, looking to the future, what exactly does the next generation of this vertical look like? What kind of use cases do we expect to be emerging relative to composability once we see more of an expansion on this cross-chain messaging and those forms of composability?
There are a lot. I think whenever we talk about this, there are more than 10 of us with like right up of it, and then we are like, oh, a lot of things which if we can actually expand to a lot of these ecosystem, we can have so much powerful dApps built upon so much use case can be built, and in the best UX possible. One of the things we have been talking about is having these DAO to DAO interaction. The one which Keeper is already building, the Oracle cross-chain oracles, having this on-chain source of data as truth instead of relying on off-chain oracles, having these cross-chain lending, borrowing, cross-chain NFTs. I simply don't have the end of these applications which can be built upon having such incredible use cases. You can have the one, because Ethereum is already exhausted with people having these automatic algorithm running on it. The next step is actually expanding it across chain, where you can actually read the data from all across the chains and have the best decision made. And including if you want to, if you believe in Ethereum, if you think that's the most secure layer of the truth, data truth, you can actually initiate the data from there, and then you move and you create the actions on the destination, and you can go back and forth. You can do a callback on destination and get back the data which you actually executed on destination, and that's give the most high the level of trust assumption and the best use case possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that I have like one use case, like one mega use case that is abstracting chains from users. Because right now, if anyone asks me, hey, which chain should I use? I could say Ethereum, but just because I use it. But in reality, there are better chains for different use cases. So abstracting that and just building applications where it makes sense to build them. Like you need the security of Ethereum's consensus, but you need like gas efficiency of L2s, and you need block speeds from Solana when it's up and running for trading, and all those different use cases for each chain. If we manage to abstract that from users, that's going to be like super ideal. That's going to be a utopia.
Yeah. What I can see happening is that, you're going to have some capability, some functionality, some data on one rollup or one chain, some capability, functionality on another, and then maybe on another. And maybe you need to bring those three capabilities together in one transaction, one thing. And so being able to compose across those varied chains, those varied rollups, all in one transaction. And so what I'm thinking is that at the moment, say you've got, say, on blockchain, you might have 3 different contracts, and you run a transaction that hits all 3. Well, what happens if they're on different rollups? And as these rollups are being created, I reckon it's quite likely that there's one that's going to have, I don't know, the next Uniswap v3 with a whole heap of capital on it. So something really useful there. But then on a different rollup, you can have something else that's very useful. And then on a different rollup again, you're going to have something else that's useful. So bringing all 3 of them together is going to be a complex little problem. And so having the way of writing programs that can bring that data and functionality together, I think is going to be key to the future.
I would like to add something to what Sanjay was mentioning before, as using making for users as simple as possible, using like any chain, making it as simple as possible. I believe right now we're in this stage where building capabilities right into Ethereum ecosystem. So being able to send data between chains, being able to send tokens between chains, having lending market, having like everything that we see right now, it's amazing. And at the end of the day, it won't scale as is to other users, to users who are not like super tech users, right? So I'm looking forward to the other stage where we focus more on user experience, highest level, right? Where it doesn't matter the speed of the transaction, it doesn't matter how the blockchain works or anything. Just like for the user, it is seamless. As using, I don't know, optimism right now, right? You open any web, you hit approve to a transaction, you send a transaction, it's instantly. That needs to be the future of Ethereum. Cross-chain needs to be something that is super, yeah, like super easy for a user, right?
Yeah, it needs to be one click for a user and they don't have to think about, do I need to connect and go to another chain and connect over there and make this second transaction to actually act on it. This is something we faced in version V, which was sometime in couple of in edge cases which was required, but we saw that this is something user wasn't aware of. The ideal case which user wants is that if I'm coming on one chain, I simply want to pay here. I don't care where. I want the money over that side, or I want to do some of these action, or even I'm not aware of it. I simply my end goal is this, and I just want this, and I don't care if it's taking 10 steps, 6 steps, or 20 steps. Uh, Maybe I want to an info of it, but I don't want to take each and every action myself. And if we can club it together into a single click, and that's what we have been targeting. And once that target is achieved, that is going to be the future of cross chain.
I do believe we have to take into account the concept of economy of scale, and that not every protocol will be able to succeed on every chain and will be able to actually provide services that they have to the users. And maybe it would not be rentable also to bridge data to all the other chains, and they will be distributed in maybe 5 or 6. And there are some other protocols that may do this, atomic swaps and may compose like things that happen in between other chains, but they live in one chain. And what I mean is that the communication between all of them is not going to be as trivial as it is, and we're going to start seeing like maybe change like more composability happening, and these things like on mainnet that we see more base protocols and very interesting DeFi experiments like timeless, separating the positive yield and the negative yield of a yield token. Like there's a lot of things that are going to live in only one ecosystem, but the ability to be able to interact with others is going to start making like the bridges are going to exist, but it's going to start making routes. It's going to start really making traffic in between them.
All right. So following on that, then, we touched on this a little bit earlier too. It was briefly mentioned that there are a fair number of risks involved with composability. So what kind of design choices are your respective groups making to kind of mitigate those risks?
I believe one of the highest risks from a developer side is being too comfortable in one standard. I would say, like, for example, every developer out there will at first like think that an ERC20 decimals state variable is a constant, and it's not. And you may get surprised when you code and you take that as a assumption trust, and when it's not, it can really break your protocol down. So I think like the more that we are composing and standardizing, the more things that we have to remember that they can in the end not be what we think. So it gets complex and complex.
For most, I think that for most protocols, first of all, I 100% agree with Weiser about this. But I also think that we need to get better at it, like having experts taking care of the differences between chains and the different assumptions between chains, and having new dApps building on top of that, and not taking things. We've seen hacks happen because someone forked a code from Ethereum, deployed it on another chain where the ERC20 was different, and got hacked because they were not experts on that chain. So I think that that's going to improve when each dApp is expert on their chain, and they're having experts like Connext building the bridges between chains, and having other parties build in other chains. So we're going to have like more people that have deep knowledge in their area, in this case the chain and the security assumption of those chains, and building on top of other solutions built by other experts. So I think that should be the end goal, like having more abstraction or more experts in one single field.
Here. What great words. I think the idea of being able to have someone who's an expert on a certain chain, and then people being able to use that capability without having to reinvent and go, oh, we've never used that chain, but let's try and bang something together because we want to touch that chain. That sounds like an awesome idea.
I agree, but the only issue there is that, like, how do you scale it, right? Because there are many chains, there are not so many real professionals, let's say. So, and there are many protocols who want to be in like many chains and quick and fast, and maybe don't have the money or the incentives to give to those professionals. So that'll be a challenge as well, right? How do you scale it? How do you give the incentives to those peoples?
I agree, and this is something. While we were researching these past 9 months, and we came on to, when we were working on the messaging layer, we came on to a point when we realized that having a single messaging layer may not be the best idea, because messaging layer or the bridge itself is an evolving space, and there would be solution which will come sooner or later, which would be better than what we are choosing right now. So what is the best way, or best actions, or best best modularity which we can scale on and connect the ecosystem with? So that's where we realized the part where Gorilla was talking about, that if you have these different tech spaces, how do you make sure, how do you scale? So we realized having these isolated modularized stack, and like how we have done with the messaging layer, creating connectors, and that having the same interface for all the chains, but using all of their different AMBs, and connect, and then sending the message with each other. So the AMB itself is different and their interface is different, but on top of that, we created this isolated connectors, which allows us to use the same interface all around the Connext, as same as if we are talking about a rollup or a L2, or if we are talking about a Cosmos ecosystem chain. So this is the solution we came to realize, that yes, if we want to have this composability, we have to isolate the risk. We have to create these modular stack, which could be these building blocks and connect to each other, and that's where we scale, or that's what the solution as of now exists.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry that my statement was oversimplified, but I agree 100% with Sunshine about it. It's like building specific models to do specific stuff. That's what I meant by experts. It can be a group, it can be whatever. But I'm paraphrasing Gorilla about that simplicity is super powerful, and I think that's great. And what Sanjay said, like we have different models and we have isolated models, which I think it's super important.
Fantastic. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour here, so I'm going to move things along a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what can be built. So we did talk a little bit about, what we thought we might see use cases for these various technologies and composability. If you wanted to inspire some builders to create something new on top of your various protocols, what kind of ideas would you give them? What do you feel is an unfulfilled need in the space right now?
Okay, I can start. I think we have a huge opportunity here of rebuilding or building a new financial system. So everything is there to be built, but in particular on top of Yearn, which is what I know the best. We are really good at doing stuff with smart contracts, but our UI is not that good. So right now, it's like that's a low-hanging fruit. You can be the next level UI with data, a lot of data to show to the users and get fees. Uh, New cross-chain solutions. I think that's a pretty unexplored territory that we need to get more people into it. Not multi-chain like copy pasting um, protocols in different EVM compatible chains, like real cross-chain applications. I think that if someone wants to like apply their Web2 skills into Web3, like building a UI, not only for Yearn. I mean there are a lot of protocols that have UIs that are great, but maybe they're not for like the Web2 public. So you can rebuild it and use it. That's the beauty of working on Web3 right now. Um, and on the other side, if you are more into the deep technical stuff on the working on the relationship between different components, cross-chain dApps, for me it's the future. It's like the next level. It's like figuring out how to build really good cross-chain dApps.
I'm I'm answering maybe not in cross-chain environment, but more in some ideas I was giving form for the last year, and I'm like soon to deploy and see how it works. And I think what it's interesting is that you can apply these economical tools to things that maybe are a game. What I'm organizing is a capture the flag game, and the thing is that it's going to use Keeper to pay for gas fees. It's going to use SudoSwap to have a circular economy. So in the end, if you start like saying, this works for this works for this, you start seeing that you can connect a couple of things. And the fun part is that nobody has made it before. So uh, for developers that are new to the environment, I would say like read, understand, and have ideas and try to put them down and to use the tools that are deployed on each chain. And if it's not deployed on that chain, try to see how you need to take it. What do you need to take to that chain, and how are you going to take it? But the thing is, we're going to start seeing a lot more of these interactions, uh, not only in high technical yield aggregator strategies, but I think more in games, in everyday like maybe services. And I think that's a beauty part. I think like it's very early for a lot of protocols that are around right now, and I think like the use cases for each of those is going to grow with time. It's going to grow with this cross-chain environment that is happening, and it's going to grow with usage and more developers being getting into the environment and getting their own opinions into code and into programs that live on some of the chains that we use.
I agree with Vacu that it's an unexplored territory, and complete and Weaver as well, that it's not limited to the financial system. It could be anything, any sort of data which can move around, because once you start moving any sort of message from any chain to any chain, then you will realize that okay, are a lot of things which we can actually build, and it could be utilized in a very different way. And coming back to the point when Peter was talking about that, each can have its own speciality. That one is special for game, one have more financial, and making it coming it together, having a product which can connect these three, an amazing product. Uh, Recently, I've been in the past week, I came across this one of the idea which I personally feel like would be amazing if anyone can implement it and like start working on it. Is that the algorithmic solutions to earn the most of the market is very interesting, and it is there for Ethereum. But if you can expand it to the cross chain, that would be huge. It's like Ethereum is already exhausted. You have to get it across chain, and I don't want to make a lot of bridging and then decide, okay, there is the best. Then I take it back to these manual transactions which are involved into that. So having a product bridge, a one click UI, where I come, I have some USDC, I get I see these strategies which are running for me, and possibly on Polygon, Arbitrum, or Chronos, I'm getting a best deal of the APY for a smooth time of period. And if I can just one click and get that done and have start earning on that particular chain and can get the updates on mainnet, that would be a huge application for me.
Great. All right, so we're coming up on 1 o'clock here, but I'm going to give you guys a little bit of extra time because I would love to hear some more from you. But I do want to give everybody an opportunity to give us some information about your projects, anything you'd like to say as a final word. If you have a little bit of alpha that you want to share with the audience, that would be pretty cool as well. And if you have a call to action relative to coming down the pipe and what's happening next, I'll give you those opportunities as well. So I'm going to start with Weiser, and Faku wanted you to answer as well, so I'll tack this on there. What, where do you plug things?
Okay, thank you, Faku.
Sorry, Weiser. Sorry.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I'd like to use this opportunity to talk about this project because I'm excited about it, and I think it goes into composability, not much into cross-chain, but maybe if it goes okay next time, it will be something cross-chain. The thing is, it's a chess Olympiads, and the name was chosen being bad plugs wars, because what you play with is what is called a bad plug, that it's just a contract that has to read the chessboard that it's on chain. It's made by 5.9. It's an NFT collection that already exists, and you have to vote which one do you want to have the next movement. So in a way, it's a democracy on a competition on playing chess. And I made this the bad black walls because I thought it was funny. But the thing is about like how it's a wrapper to compose a game that already exists, but to give the opportunity of making a capture the flag game for people to play. And one of the most interesting parts that I'm using is that all of the state variables of the contract are going to be hidden, are going to be not public. But the NFTs itself are going to carry all the data in the metadata so that you can play, because it's going to have simulations, it's going to have the score, it's going to have like all the information needed to play this capture the flag is going to be in the NFTs metadata. So in a way, it's composing also the NFT indexes that already happen in OpenSea, in LuxRare, or in NFT aggregators or indexes. So in a way, it's like doing something on chain and has a circular economy, and in the other way, has a composability off chain of how it's played, and that is going to improve with time because the metadata, it's going to be on-chain made, but it's going to be modifiable. And I hope to see some improvements, and I hope to see some very nice implementations of that metadata.
Wow. I did not know this was going to be turning into a PG-13 talk, but thank you. Next, we'll ask Faku to speak.
Thank you. I really want to say that what Waster shared, it's what I think it's beautiful about the ecosystem. It's like you can build whatever you want. It doesn't have to be a boring financial product. So go and build something fun, something that you really, really like. And if you're building something that you like and you want to share it with smart people, there are a lot of projects that are going to help you. Yearn is one of them. You can like come to Discord and share it with us. We're always open to new stuff. And about what's next for us, to share some kind of alpha that you might know already. We're building B3. What's nice about B3 is that that's going to enable us to go farm cross-chain, because we are adopting what Sunshine described before. We are getting into what we call modularized yield strategies. So it's going to be divided in small parts that are going to be very good at doing only one thing, like recycling the tokens or going and invest in some particular token, etc., etc. So go build stuff, share it with everyone, and have fun.
Thank you so much. Peter, if you wanted to have some final words.
Sure. Yeah, look, I think it's awesome, the space we're in, and I think we're right at the beginning. So I think that more than just DeFi is definitely true. And so I know for the protocol that I'm working on, GPact, trying to explore what type of cross-chain applications will really work with this. And for that matter, even beyond GPact and just generally, what are good cross-chain applications and what are the crypto economics that need to be in place for them to work, I think is something that I know I'm thinking through, and it'd be great if other people can think through that one too. So that's sort of the call to action, is try to think about what type of cross-chain applications really make sense, and which ones aren't going to work, and what are the I don't know, design patterns. So if you were to think about how should they look, and what type of things will definitely work and what type of things will definitely not work, that's I think one of the key things for to be thinking about in the going forward as we head towards this cross chain application space.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. All right, Gorilla, a couple last words from you.
Perfect. So from our side, I'd like to share with you guys a little bit of what we're doing at Wonderland and what is our focus right now, and what would we like to see on DeFi, yeah, and what concerns us as well, right? So before we talked about composability and these trustless assumptions that we take whenever we start creating composed protocols, right? As for example, the ERC20, like decimals can be changed and stuff like that, right? So on the past year, let's say, we've been focusing on price oracles that we believe are like a key part of DeFi, right? Most of the protocols we see right now need to have like a reliable sort of source of truth regarding the price of assets, right? And I truly believe that right now there is no perfect solution for it. Every single solution has its faults. And we need to remember that we're building here an ecosystem that is truly like the goal of the ecosystem, right, is to be trustless and decentralized, and at the same time to be reliable. So we have many trust assumptions in the solutions we currently use. I want to name anything, not to go like to create conflicts, but like we are currently using many solutions that are centralized in a way that depends on companies in a way. And in Wonderland, we're trying to avoid that and working towards a decentralized future of DeFi. So we believe in Uniswap, and what they built with Uniswap v3 is the best current solution for this price oracle issue. But at the end of the day, there are many trust assumptions on that as well. For example, the liquidity on a pool can be easily migrated, and if you like relied on that pool for your lending market, let's say, then you're screwed, right? Because there's no liquidity, it's easy to be manipulated, and like it has this complexity factor as well that many people don't understand how Uniswap works behind the curtains, and I understand why. It's super complex and it has many moving parts. So what we're building is a protocol on top of Uniswap that actually makes all this easier and create reliable liquidity and makes like if you use this protocol right, you can ensure that you're using a healthy pool. Okay, so this protocol is called Price. It's called Price Oracle. So we're going to be posting it about it on like Twitter of Wonderland and everything. But if you think as well that you like to have a reliable source of priced price oracle for your protocol and you're not happy with the current solutions, like you should follow us and we'll be posting out it in the next week or 2 weeks because the launch will be pretty soon.
Excellent. All right, and last, and of course, most certainly not least, Sanjay, if you want to say a couple of things.
I think everything shared by the wonderful panelists is alpha by Connext as well. Additional to that, it's a bit technical part of it, but now with the new updates which are coming in, even with the updates we had earlier, is nested XCons that allows you to do interaction from chain A to chain B and further chain to chain C or chain D. So it could be a connected chain of calls and execution, and with a single interaction which happened on the chain A. So it's another incredible feature which is being which is being developed, and we have it ready.
Wonderful. Well, I want to extend a massive, heartfelt thanks to this incredible panel today. You guys have just been phenomenal today. I do want to remind all of our listeners that please check the Connext Twitter account here for the link to to claim your Galaxy NFT for attending this event. It's a little thank you to you. Please follow all of our panelists here on Twitter if you're not doing it already. And of course, we have 2 more sessions coming up this week. We have one tomorrow, which is what's next for NFT info with NFT Hashi, Fjord Foundry, and Charged Particles, and one on Thursday, what's next for DAOs with Optimism, Nosystal, and Superfluid. Last but not least, I do want to invite everybody that if you are thinking about the next wave of cross-chain applications and you have questions, need resources, or just want someone to bounce ideas off of, you can always ping me or any of the Connext team in our Discord at discord.gg/Connext. All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day. Sleep off that candy from Halloween, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one.
Thank you, Greg. It's been a pleasure. See ya.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Great moderation
Thanks
and
for
great
being a great
speakers.
host. Yeah, thanks for being a great host and greatest community. Thank you very much.